One. Time for this week's EPOCH update. We got 4 articles published this week, besides the ones on the fitness page, which you might want to check out. The series on Aleister Crowley's Scarlet Harem. And this was attempt to chronicle all the women with whom he was in one way or another involved in sex magic. This was not only those whom he actually referred to as his scarlet women, which were his main muses or psychic medium channelers, or women he allowed to get possessed so he could get whatever information, power, or what have you from demons. And from some of these women, it was just impossible for me to find any information besides a name. For some of them, I found little scraps here and there. For some of them, I did get a fair amount of background. So you can kind of see the range of person with whom he was involved and the kind of things they were involved in, and how much society and culture has changed. In a way it hasn't, but the biggest change is that this stuff is right out in the open nowadays. I mean, it's very in your face, it's coming out of the woodworks. You've heard concepts such as the externalization of the hierarchy, these kind of concepts, whereas maybe a few decades ago, a few centuries ago, you wouldn't have known a lot of these things unless you were involved in a secret society. Today you can just turn on a movie or even a cartoon show or go to a pop concert and learn a lot about the occult by any other name. Another article was another in the series about the Qur'an and the Bible. In this case, how the Quran affirms that Christians were at odds, as it were, with each other, which really comes down to showing that the Christian religion was active, was diverse, was extant, did exist, and was known to the point where Muhammad could plainly see that there were certain divisions, but that it showed that there was a basis there, a basic premise upon which Christianity functioned, which has come down to us in the well-known saying, in essentials unity, in non-essentials liberty, and in all things charity, basically. But that's an ongoing series. Then I published one about Jesus in the Old Testament, because Jesus referred to how the Old Testament spoke of him. So I decided to take a text from the Old Testament, from Exodus, that if you were to read it, you would likely think nothing of it in terms of having prophetic implication or speaking of Jesus, and yet turns out to be very meaningful if you just pay attention to what it's saying and then know your New Testament, which is the key. I mean, we live in a time where Bible information is just absolutely everywhere, anywhere. You can go to, at least if you live in a first or second world country, any bookstore, any website, and just learn more about the Bible than was available to people for millennia. And yet that just sort of has led to people being disinterested, and I'm talking culturally, or more so probably being interested enough to know that the Bible condemns this or that which they are doing, so they would rather just set it aside and chase after their own quote-unquote spirituality, whatever on earth that means. so that when they look at texts such as the one in Exodus, they wouldn't recognize it. They would have no idea what they're looking at. So this may be a good place to start thinking about such things, or continuing. The last article was on Tracy Twyman, and if you've been watching my videos recently, you know I've put up a couple about this very, very troubling person who a lot of people have a positive view of if, and I would say only if, they know her solely from her research exposing bankers and the corrupt banking system. Now, the true irony being that through Ouija board seances, through Ouija board rituals, she claims to be in touch with Baphomet, who is in hell. And what a swell guy Baphomet is. You know, even though he's in hell, he's helping her out in her research. What a swell guy, or gal, or, you know, the amalgam of the transgender amalgam, which is Baphomet. But that's okay. She's also in touch with Cain from hell, so, you know, Cain's in hell also and has spare time to help her out in her research, you know. But seriously, folks, she's very open about the fact that she has been led and guided in her research by demons, and which is kind of ironic because Baphomet claims to have established this corrupt banking system, but is now helping her expose this corrupt banking system. And now, how does that go about Satan being against Satan, that his kingdom can't stand? Well, it definitely has benefited Tracy, that's for one. So if you wonder why a demon would be doing this, it definitely has benefited her, given her a good name as a researcher of the occult, an exposer of the occult. And yet the other side of Tracy is that she's deeply, deeply involved in the occult. For example, she established a secret society of her own, a cult of her own, and had people taking blood oaths, performing blood rituals to take blood oaths to join this cult, to the point where when she wanted to disband the cult, two people just happened to contact her right around the same time using the same kind of terminology, asking to take over the cult so they could keep it going. And she said that she could tell that the demons had possessed them and were just trying to keep this thing going. The whole thing's very sordid and very troubling and very disturbing. And be on the lookout for a video where I post a lot of interesting clips from Tracy's interview with Freeman Fly. Now, Freeman Fly being, I don't know what his deal is, but he's like a human double-headed eagle. You know, you have Freeman Fly, the peace-loving hippie rainbow family guy. And then you have Freeman Fly, the guy who will literally encourage Tracy to video record her Ouija board sessions with demons and upload them to YouTube instantly, so the worldwide, mind you, web can find out what the demons are saying right now and taking marching orders from them. So go figure. The whole thing is just very flummoxing. And in another way, if you are aware of Tracy and what she's doing, it's very obvious. It's not like she's hiding it. It's just that if you think of her as a great exposer of the corrupt bankers, you're more likely to just focus on the material she puts out in that regard and not find out anything deeper about it. So I wrote some of this stuff out in an article which will serve as a springboard for finding out a little bit about her and the kind of things that she's into behind the scenes. Okay, so that's the EPOCH update. Check out the info section for the links to these articles, as well as my fitness page that's mostly product reviews.
Basically have a YouTube show telling people what we're getting from the demons these days.
Right, that would be fantastic.
Just from a layman's perspective, it looks to me like the exorcism was a miserable failure.